just because your marriage is ending does not mean your relationship is ending. And as soon as we reframe the decision of divorce, not as something to take a mediocre marriage, a dysfunctional marriage, a marriage that isn't working, and thinking, oh, let's go spend thousands of dollars and months or years of our life to make it worse. Why would we do that? Let's take divorce and see it as a tool for transformation and not a weapon.
This changes everything about how you move forward.
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Give the woman in your life something that truly matters, or better yet, give it to yourself. The gift inside is for every woman who spent decades being everything to everyone else. It's time to remember who you are and rediscover your happiness. This isn't just a book, it's a permission to put yourself first again. Available now, because the best gift you can give is helping someone find themselves. Welcome. Today we have a return guest, Karen McNenny. She is an amazing divorce specialist and she's courageously changing how we think about divorce. She's the author of The Good Divorce, How to End Your Marriage Without Ending Your Family. And she's not just speaking from professional expertise as a mediator, divorce consultant, and co-parent specialist. She's lived this herself. So it gives me a great pleasure to have Karen with us on again today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back, Irina, and hello to all of your listeners here to help.
Thank you. Your book reframes divorce as a family evolution, not a failure. What mindset shift has to happen for parents to truly see divorce that way instead of as devastation?
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to remind ourselves, if we share children, we have a forever relationship. Our DNA is entangled. And just because your marriage is ending does not mean your relationship is ending. And as soon as we reframe the decision of divorce, not as something to take a mediocre marriage, a dysfunctional marriage, a marriage that isn't working, and thinking, oh, let's go spend thousands of dollars and months or years of our life to make it worse. Why would we do that? Let's take divorce and see it as a tool for transformation and not a weapon. And as soon as we hand our divorce decision over to attorneys, they're going to start to weaponize it against parents. That is what they're trained to do, and that is the system that they work in, which is adversarial by its very nature. And lawyers are not financially incentivized for cooperation and quick solutions. They're financially incentivized for things to take a long time and to escalate conflict. And when that happens, then you leave two parents kind of in a dumpster fire of ashes after the fact who have to go on and still raise children side by side. So what we're really trying to do is reframe divorce, not as a weapon, but as a tool of transformation to actually improve the family function, not make it worse.
Totally. You're so right.
Yeah, I know. And we don't think about it that way. So I appreciate sharing this opportunity with your listeners. And even if you've come through a dumpster fire divorce, I always say it's never too late to have a good divorce. You can change the direction of the couplehood that you still have with your co-parent.
Totally. Thank you. You speak about the systemic failures of the traditional divorce industry and how it often fuels conflict instead of cooperation. What specifically is broken and what can parents do differently, even if they are already inside the system?
Yeah. And as I was just mentioning, we've already created a system that fuels conflict. Lawyers are trained to fight to the death, if you will, on behalf of their clients. So as soon as they have that single parent, that one person that is their client, they're going to do everything they can to make sure their client gets as much as possible. And the only thing that they're focusing on is the financial assets, the marital settlement agreement. But that is just one little thread in the tapestry of this family. A family that has to go on and decide what's the curfew going to be for our 15-year-old who lives across 2 homes. And what are we going to do when they want to become a driver? Who's going to pay for the car and the insurance? How are we going to face college decisions and payment for that? What about their religious journey of our children? What about, are they going to do soccer all summer? That's going to require a lot of weekend trips. Like, no lawyer is going to talk about soccer or curfew or holidays other than who's going to pay for it and what day are the kids going to be with you for Christmas, what year, right? Dollars and dates. That's what lawyers focus on when it comes to kids. Dollars and dates. And usually they just say divide everything in the middle, which includes take your Christmas, divide it in half. What child wants to get up from their morning magic and get dressed and leave the Christmas tree and some parents saying, oh, you can't take your Christmas presents to the other house and have to leave at noon and get out of their little Christmas pajamas. It's a terrible idea. And those who come through the Good Divorce methodology with me or come into the Good Divorce Academy where we're trying to teach families how to be divorced. Again, lawyers are going to get you divorced. They're going to get you legally divorced and divide your assets. They're not going to do anything to help you know how to be a divorced couple, which is, as it turns out, a lifelong journey. You know, you might have an 8-year-old right now. Maybe you have an 18-year-old. You are going to share graduations and grandbabies and make memories. And I believe parents have the right to delight in the rearing of their children together side by side. And as soon as we hand over, right, our divorce journey to attorneys and people make the decision and the first question is, well, now what? Call a lawyer, even in my own divorce, spouse and I were in couples counseling, like many of us are, trying to save the marriage. That's what we're here to do, is to save the marriage. And then you realize this marriage has hit its expiration date and it's starting to spoil and it's getting stinky and it's getting bad and it's going to make us all sick. So let's go ahead and make a decision here. And even our therapist, once that decision was made, was like, well, call a lawyer. Like, will you keep working with us? She's like, what do you mean? We don't know how to tell our kids that we're getting divorced in a way that isn't going to be traumatizing to them. We don't know how to make a schedule that is balanced and age appropriate. Should we talk to like their teachers? How do we tell our family members so they don't hijack it? And all they had to offer was call an attorney. So in many ways, Irina, I've built the business. I built the support system that I was looking for almost 15 years ago when our kids were 5 and 7. We always say we've raised our kids from kindergarten to college. They're now 19 and 20, 21. Oh my gosh, right? They do that right under our nose. And we were able to live 6 blocks apart and to let our parenting plan evolve over time and to have solid kids. And we're proud. I'm not that our marriage ended in divorce. I wish it hadn't. I wish more than anything that we would have been under one roof to raise our children and had a deep, loving, compatible marriage. But that isn't what was unfolding. And I believe that we did a service to our children by moving them into a 2-household family, right? That's what we are. We're a 2-home family. We're still a family. So coming back to this question about, the system, and it's not just the legal system, which immediately takes 2 parents and says, you're now enemies and don't talk to each other. Don't talk outside of your meetings with your attorney. Well, now we're just doing divorce by default rather than divorce by design. And when we let the parents kind of stay in the driver's seat, then you get to design your divorce. You get to design your family. And that is a revolution. And I am one voice of pioneers who are sticking our neck out to say it's time to disrupt the divorce industrial complex, which is what it's become. It's a business that now generated $13.1 billion in 2024. That's our most recent records. I know, crazy. Over $13 billion coming out of the pockets of parents, out of the college savings accounts for children, out of that little extracurricular fund so that they can do summer soccer and ballet classes and guitar lessons, and going right to attorneys, their firms, their paralegals, their assistants. To me, that's malpractice. That is not in the best interest of families.
Totally. Because lawyers are only there for one thing, to get the most money they can get.
for their client and therefore for themselves. And forgetting that the enemy on the other side of the table is someone their client had a love story with, is someone that their client is going to have a forever relationship with, that those children are going to be raised. And when we keep bringing kids into the repetition of high conflict co-parenting relationships, that spins out and has not only an emotional and psychological impact on our society, but an economic impact on our society. And we can do better and we can do different. And it's not just the legal industry that has us held captive. It's also banking and insurance and even the workplace. There are a lot of outdated policies and procedures that are not divorce friendly. They actually create divorce penalties.
Didn't know about that one.
Would you like to know more about that?
Please, share.
So for instance, let's say spouse and I, we're married. One of the very biggest assets that we share together is our family home. And in most cases, not all, one member of the couple is going to retain that family home. And in some cases, maybe it's 50-50. I actually don't know the statistics. The home gets sold. Neither person can afford to maintain the home financially, or the family moves, all sorts of different reasons. But the house is the big asset and it becomes a big thing that we battle over. So in my case, the decision was I'm going to retain the family home. Now, in order for me to get spouse off the title and for that ownership to come to me directly, it means I also have to refinance the loan on the home, because very few of us own our home outright. Right? It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you own your home outright, then that already means you have a lot of money and you don't have to worry about this. But for most of us, that home has a loan. And I now have to not only take ownership of the home, but I have to take ownership of that loan. And what that means, in order to get spouse off the title and for me to take the loan and him to come off the loan, I have to refinance the entire house, which means I have to go back to the bank and basically get a new loan that has only my name on it. Now, I'm in total agreement. I should have to qualify as a single, solo parent that I can financially afford that home. But what they make me do is refinance the entire loan, which means if I had a 3.25% interest rate on my home and a mortgage payment of $800 a month that I can afford on my own, I now am going to refinance at the current mortgage rate, which is 6.5%. And now that monthly payment is going to go up to $1,500 a month or $1,200 a month. I now might not be able to afford that as a single income household. Plus, the refinancing fees might be $5,000 to $10,000 that go to the bank and go to the title company, and we have to have an appraiser and all of these things. Now, if my spouse had died, I probably would have been able to just assume the terms of the loan. He would have come off the title and I would have gone on my merry way and been able to stay in my home because we had a death. Well, divorce is also a death. It's the death of the family as we knew it. It's the death of the marriage. It's my death identified as a spouse and a wife. It's also a death of my parenthood at 100%, probably being reduced to 50% or maybe more. So we add all that in, and now we're just going to penalize you and make you refinance this entire house, even though it's the same person, it's the same family. The house isn't being sold. We're just changing the ownership from two people to one. So that's one example of policy that I see we should change to not penalize and make it more financially difficult for families that already are going through a financial whirlwind. We're going from a 2-income household to a single income household. We are paying attorneys. It is financially devastating to go through divorce, and it should not be. And then we have all these other penalties that come about, like the refinancing of homes. I'm happy to say there are some companies that are now helping us assume the loans, but it's still rare. So for those of you listening who are also connected to the mortgage lending and banking world, or you're looking at a refinance, start pounding your fist on the table and say, this is not appropriate. It's not fair. It's not helpful. And it's devastating to families who are trying to create stability for their kids, and maintaining that family home for a period of time is very stabilizing for the kids when everything else around them is beginning to change.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for speaking up and bouncing on the table.
Pounding our fist on the table, right?
Yes.
We need to Stop thinking that divorce only has a one-way road to devastation and debt and despair. It does not have to be that way. Our family, we're a living example of that. And on my podcast, The Good Divorce Show, why I started it 4 years ago was to have families come on, couples. Those are my guests. It's people coming on the show to talk about their good divorce experiences. It's children, adult children of divorce, talking about what their parents did well so they didn't end up all screwed up. Sometimes it's adult children of divorce and their parent on The Good Divorce Show talking about, boy, do you remember when you were 9 years old and oh, now that I'm an adult, I see all the things my parents did to protect my childhood. That's the stories that we amplify on The Good Divorce Show. And in addition to listening here on Arena's podcast, I invite you to hop on over to The Good Divorce Show podcast so that you can hear examples and go, oh my gosh, look at these two parents laughing together. Look at them respecting each other. It should not be a big deal. It should be the norm. So I'm here to amplify a change in thinking and a change in perspective and to disrupt divorce as we know it today.
I love it. Thank you. What should parents be thinking about before telling their kids about the divorce?
I see so many parents rush to tell their kids as soon as they've decided. And I've had clients. And through the Good Divorce Academy, I work with parents together. That's when we get best. That's the very first thing I've changed about how we do divorces. We don't take mom and dad and put them on other sides of the table. We create a round table relationship where you together with your kids are having a conversation. And so often those parents that I start a working relationship with, they're like, well, we need to tell the kids about the divorce, like tonight. I'm like, why tonight or this weekend? Like, because we've decided. Like, you're not ready to have that conversation. And this is why. And they're like, yeah, but we don't want to be deceptive. We don't, be lying and faking it in front of our kids. I'm like, you know what? You've probably been faking it and pretending for months, maybe years. You're going to pretend a couple more weeks until I help you get prepared for that conversation because it is an indelible conversation. It will be remembered by everyone. And how we begin is often how we end. So we want to begin this divorce conversation in the family intentionally, thoughtfully, strategically. I spent and still do work as a business consultant, 25, 30 years consulting businesses and how they lead transformation and change. Well, I take all those skills and bring it to my divorce clients. So if you're going to have a big organizational change and shift, you're going to sit down as executive team and you're going to get a communication plan together. So that's what we do. We put together a communication plan, which means we don't just think about what we're going to talk about. We're first going to identify when should this conversation happen. I had a family make the decision like the month before their youngest child was about to graduate from high school. And mom was like, we are not telling our child before graduation. It will hijack everything. Every party will be awkward, all the attention. Our child will not be able to enjoy the celebration of this big accomplishment. And dad's like, okay, fine. We'll tell them in the fall when we drop them off for college. No, you're not going to do that either. Neither of those things is right. So we started to work together because there's a lot that can happen behind the scenes. And then we decided after graduation, that's when we'll sit down with child, like a couple of weeks, not the day after. Well, then all of a sudden, grandpa was diagnosed with cancer. And that became the big announcement after graduation. Well, we're not going to do cancer and divorce at the same time. So there's a million different versions of this situation or not. And what I want people to hear is you got to be thoughtful. Is it Thanksgiving break? Is it Christmas break? Do we have a soccer tournament on Saturday? Is it going to be someone's birthday? Is it a graduation? Like you look at the calendar because we want this to have the space for kids to process it. And I don't care if they're 25 or 5. It matters to these kids and they deserve to have an opportunity. So we look at the calendar and what big events are happening in the family. We're like, okay, here's our sweet spot in the middle of March, right? Or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, or maybe it's between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or maybe they come home and they get to have Christmas break, but before they go back to college, we'll tell them. All right. We're going to decide on the timing. Then we're going to decide on the day of the week within that schedule because it's probably not a school night. I don't recommend you having a divorce conversation with your kids when they have to go to school the next morning. A Friday after school? Yeah. A Saturday morning? Even better. A weekend when they have Monday off for a holiday? Best of all. Because the conversation itself is probably 15 to 20 minutes because it's the first conversation. It's not the only conversation. So I might spend upwards of 3 hours of therapeutic conversation, one-on-one consulting with a couple, getting ready to have that conversation. So we're going to decide what's the right time of year or in this season. And if we're going to pretend, we're going to pretend. We're going to figure out how to do that effectively. We're going to find out what day of the week, then what time of the day. And then we're also going to talk about location. Is it around the kitchen table? Is it in the living room? Is it in the backyard? Is it on a dog walk? Is it at grandma and grandpa's house? Is it, I don't know where. But that location, again, is going to now carry the energy of that conversation forever. And sometimes in the family home is the right spot because kids need to get up and go to their room and isolate. But maybe your kids do better on a drive to a hike, sitting on a bench in a private location. Some kids face-to-face is a lot, but if we're walking or driving, then we don't have to be face-to-face. We're also going to consider, do you have a 16-year-old in your house and a 6-year-old? That's probably not the same conversation. My clients, we often will do one conversation with the older kids. They're going to have different questions. They're going to need different answers. And then we do a second conversation later that day where we bring the younger ones in. And maybe the older kids are still there. They already know, but they're there to offer support. I had one family, our kids are 8 and 10, but our 10-year-old is high drama, is going to hijack everything, is going to set the tone, is going to get volatile. We don't want our 8-year-old. We're going to do these two separate. But if we're not having a strategic conversation about a communication plan, we just blurt it out over breakfast and it's a big verbal vomit that just stinks up the place forever. So that question, what should we be thinking about before we tell our kids? It's a long list. And once we have all of those things identified, then we work on the script. And it's not a verbatim script, but it's what do your kids need to hear? What's important? And I'll offer this one technique to think about is you're not just telling your kids what's going to change. It's really important you tell them what's not going to change. If you're going to stay in the same school district, great. If the dog is always going to be with you, we know that, great, right? We're going to stay in this house through the end of the school year. Don't make false promises, right? That doesn't help. Don't make things up because that changes. And then we do a second communication plan for the circle of support around your children. Teachers, coaches, maybe a pastor. Who are the important people that your kids come in contact with, who they might actually see more than you, which are teachers and coaches and dance folks and the parents at other houses. We let them know this is coming. We send a message to them. If the dog died over the weekend, you'd probably send the teacher an email. Hey, Johnny might be a little upset this week because we had kind of a big news at our house. We just want you to know so you can. Why don't we do that for every child going through divorce? Of course we should. So we write that message together from both parents. The other thing that is unique to the good divorce methodology is that we're aligning the parents also from the beginning. So the kids aren't getting the message from one parent, your dad decided to leave, your mom went and cheated on me, your dad's a good for nothing, well, your mom never does what I ask her to. Like already the kids are caught in the middle of a conflict. No, you come together with this conversation. And it is we have decided we will take care of the parenting things. You don't have to worry about this because we're your parent team forever. We're not going to live in the same house, but we're going to show up at every football game and sit side by side. We're going to be at every parent-teacher conference together. But if we don't start this process together, then we don't get to go to the football game together. Parents are too angry with each other once they've been shredded by the legal system. So I'm working with parents a lot of times up to 3 months before we even start talking about finances. We stabilize the family, the living situation, the conversation and communication before we even start talking about money. And I like to write that parenting plan before we do money. Otherwise, the kids start getting weaponized. Well, you're going to take the boat and leave me with the crappy car. Fine. You know what? I'm going to take Christmas and Thanksgiving. Your kids are not something to be thrown into the negotiation conversation. Fight over the boat and the car, not the kids.
Totally. Thank you.
Lots of things to take into consideration when we're communicating about our divorce.
Yeah. Sometimes we kind of, when it comes to working environment, we are more, I guess, open to all of the different rules and procedures and situations, and we have manuals how to approach any kind of scenario. But when it comes to day-to-day living or navigating life after divorce or during that, we don't have any kind of structure like that. You have the legal system, you have a therapist who kind of works separately. But there is no, so thank you for creating such an important construct for people to have that access and figure out.
Yeah.
Because a divorce happens, but then, like we said, life continues. You still...
Divorce is just one little thread in the whole tapestry. And that's why I've written the companion book now. After establishing and launching the podcast, I was asked to write the book, The Good Divorce: How to End Your Marriage Without Ending Your Family. And throughout the book, you'll find the good guide. And it's how to think about child age-specific schedules. It's how to have this conversation with your kids and the things to think about. It has templates on what you can send to teachers and coaches. It also has a template of how to communicate with your friends and family so that they know what kind of divorce you're going to have. And together you announce it. It's like being a good journalist. You write your own headline and you stay ahead of the press. So the couple basically sends out a public service announcement to their friends and family. Hey, we've made a really difficult decision and please respect our privacy around this, but we want you to know so that you can support us and our kids. Don't ask us why. That's an impossible question to answer. But ask how we're doing and know that we're not going to court. We're not blowing it up. You don't need to take sides. You don't need to be angry on our behalf. We're just here together as a parent team to support our kids, and we want you to be a part of that. And suddenly you shift the paradigm for the circle of support around the kids and the circle of support around you as well. Otherwise, everyone starts gossiping and everyone starts to like, are you going to get the boat? I've got a shark lawyer for you. Oh my gosh, I saw him out and he was like, I don't know with who, playing tennis. And like, stop it. You're poisoning our family. So we get ahead of that proactively. And that is the good guide of how to have a divorce that does not set the tone of negativity and conflict for the rest of your life. Right? Your kids don't want to manage your crap on their wedding day. They deserve better.
Totally. What does long-term family success look like 5 or 10 years after a good divorce?
Yeah, well, it's a good segue as we just talked about those wedding days. 5, 10, 20 years. And if I just paint a picture, in the short term, as I mentioned earlier, the success is mom and dad, or moms and dads, right? Lots of ways to be a family, but both parents, divorced parents, can show up and sit side by side at the Christmas concert, at the basketball game. And those kids don't have to be darting around like, oh, mom's over there and dad's over there. And when the game is over, I don't know who I'm supposed to go to next. Like, my fan club, all my grandparents, all my siblings, half siblings, step sibling, both my parents, maybe their new partners, we're still a family. So just that's part of it. If we don't do damage up front, then the family can carry on. And that is the intent of the book, how to end your marriage without ending your family. So success looks like the family cheering on together at the sidelines at the sports activities and taking the photos and celebrating at the Christmas concert. It means parents can go to the parent-teacher conference together, right? I've coached parents post-divorce when they've come through a dumpster fire. It's incredibly difficult work. I do not like doing it because it's really hard to repair after the damage is done. And those couples have to have 2 different conferences with the teacher because they can't even sit in the same room together. It's heartbreaking. We don't want that. You can be the solo parent household, but you're still a co-parent family. We also then look forward down the road. And I always say graduation to grandbabies. The successful family, the successful co-parenting relationship is that, again, you're there on graduation day, high school and college and grad school, whatever those big thresholds for your children are going to be. That when the grandbabies arrive, again, your kids aren't like, well, okay, dad can come on Sunday and mom can come on Saturday, but make sure they're not in the room at the same time. And the same thing with the weddings, right? And what I find so often, Irina, is people who've been divorced a long time, 10, 20 years, and I have them on the show, they're like, yeah, after a while, you just kind of get over all that drama. Like, it just doesn't even matter. Like, time takes care of it. So what I'm asking you to do, you know who you are. You're listening right now. You have control of that timeline. You are in charge of the gas pedal and the brakes on how your long-term relationship with your former spouse heals. And you can keep tapping the brakes with bitterness, with resentment. I'm never, they didn't, you remember 5 years ago, they should have, like, whatever. That's not serving anyone. Just stop it. Like, really, the past cannot be changed. There is pain there. I know it. I lived it. There is grief and relief side by side, and there's regret and there's hurt and betrayal, but you cannot change it. The only thing that you can do is look out the windshield, the front window of your life, and hit the gas pedal and decide, I'm going to get there. And I can hear you. I can hear your listeners right now, Irina, saying like, but they won't, and they're still holding on. I'm like, whatever. Behavior's contagious. What are you spreading? Who are you going to be? How are you going to show up? You can be the graceful one that offers forgiveness. You can be the one that doesn't respond to the nasty email and the text, nasty gram. You're the one who can push the gas pedal for yourself. I no longer want to hold on to what's in the rearview mirror. It's gone. And it's hard. Get a therapist. Talk to your friends. Listen to the Good Divorce Show so you can hear other couples who pushed the gas pedal to get there sooner. Not in 20 or 40 years. What a waste of time. What a waste of love. Start living the family life you want today. And if your former spouse wants to stay, right, in the ugliness and the hurt and the pain, well, that's their choice. You do not have to join them there. Lean into the future that you want to be living today.
Totally. I love it. Your past does not define your future, and we can only choose what we want to do. How we want to proceed. If the other person is not ready, it's their life. Right. They're wasting their own life.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your groundbreaking work in changing divorce paradigm and how it can look, and that it can be good and it can be better. If people would like to get your book, where would they go?
Yeah, so the book is currently available, and depending on when you're listening, it'll either be on pre-sale or available after May 12th of 2026, and you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop if you want to support your local booksellers and not all just the big store monsters, but whatever is easy for you. I encourage you to buy a copy for yourself, to buy a copy for your co-parent too. And it's not just for those of you thinking about divorce, going through divorce, post-divorce, absolutely. But it's also for the professionals in the industry. I want you reading this book. I want you to understand how to better support families and to understand at least one woman's journey, right? The book it's my memoir of my journey matched with the nonfiction how-to of Karen as divorce consultant. And it's my advocacy work with commentary about the system that is not serving us. And buy it for your parents, for the grandparents, the neighbors, the best friends, so that they better understand the divorce journey as well. So by all means, and for those of you who are interested and willing to make a sale before May 12th, make that pre-sale purchase, that helps get the word out. I'm one voice, and you can be an extension of that voice by helping to broadcast and amplify this message so that we really can change how we do divorce for the better. And I invite you to tune in to the Good Divorce Show every week so that you can hear other professionals and families who have found a way to do it differently.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to have you. And congratulations on launching this book.
Thank you very much, Irina.
If this conversation stayed with you, take a moment to notice what shifted. Maybe this isn't about doing divorce perfectly, Maybe it's about doing it consciously. You still get to decide what your family looks like moving forward. And that choice matters more than anything what's already happened. And if this resonated, take a moment to leave a review or share this episode with someone who might need it. You can also subscribe so you have support like this as you move through your next chapter.